Hey everyone, it's MusicTechHelpGuy, and in this video I want to show you a cool reverse chord trick that I like to use for building unique sounding chord progressions in my compositions and beats in Logic. A lot of times I find that just choosing a stock pad or a synth string instrument or a synth keyboard type instrument, it leaves me a little underwhelmed. I like to sort of do some of my own sound design and create something that's a bit more original. So that's what I'm going to show you in this video. So to start off, I've just got a basic beat using Drum Machine Designer and one of the stock basses in Logic. So I'm in the key of A minor, and I've already set my key up here to A minor. It's important that you do that if you plan on working in the step sequencer at all, because the step sequencer will automatically conform to whatever key you select up here. But if you're using piano roll, you can just ignore that. You don't have to do that. But if I look at my bass line right now, I have A, F, D, G. So this is A minor. This is going to be an A minor chord, F major, D minor, and then G major. Although I'm going to do something a little different with these last two notes here on G. So let's start building the synth instrument that's going to go on top of this. I'll just mute these for now. And I'll just create a new software instrument, pull that up to the top. And maybe I'll start with keyboard. So I'll start with the vintage electric piano. And I'll just create a either MIDI region or pattern region. I really like using the step sequencer as a compositional aid, so that's what I'm going to do. So you can see it's already loaded up one octave of A minor. I'm just going to click here, then go to templates, go to minor. This will give me 2 full octaves. And I said that chord progression was A, F, D, G. But I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to skip a step. I'll explain why in just a bit. So I've got A, F, D, and then G. But I think I want to do a little more with this. I think I want to go G, and then I'll add a B. And I'll come back to why I want these 2 chords in just a bit. So the first one, A minor. This is easy. A, C, E. The second one, F major, F, A, C. Maybe we'll add a 7th chord to that. Just juice it up a little bit. So I'll add the 7th there on E. Let's make this D minor 7, D, F, A, C. And then for my last 2 chords, technically this is G major is what this is. But I think what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to make this chord a C chord. So C, E, G. But I'm going to put a G in the bass. So it's going to be a second inversion C chord. This is going to be a G chord, but with a B in the bass. So it'll be B, D, and then G up here. So that's just like a first inversion G chord there. Now, if I play this right now, it's just going to be really fast 16th notes. That's not what I want. So I'm going to set this to whole notes. Actually, I'm going to make these half notes. Let's go a little shorter than that. If I drag this out up here, we'll hear all of those chords. So now what I'm going to do is convert this over to MIDI. So you can just go down to convert and then select convert to MIDI region. There we go. You could start this way too. You don't have to work in the step sequencer. I just like using it as a compositional tool. It's a quick way to create chords and other things. What I'm going to do in here is I'm going to reinforce these chords with some bass. So I'm going to add an additional bass note here on A2, and I'll add another one down here on A1. And then this chord, I'm going to add a low F. On the D chord, I'll do the same thing, add a low D. And then on the G and B chords, or actually C and G chords is what they really are, I'm going to reinforce the bass here on G. Maybe I'll add a low G as well. And then I'll reinforce the bottom note here as well, B. Just like so. Now, the other thing I'm going to do is I'm going to stretch these chords out a little bit. I want to make them like three beats long. I think that's good. I think that'll be all right. Now what I'm going to do is I want to layer up these chords. I have to sort of think texturally. I don't want just electric piano. That's kind of boring. So let me duplicate this track, but on the duplicate, I'll create a mellotron. Let's go with the mellotron here. Let's just duplicate these chords down. And I'll just dial in a setting that I like. It's a little bright for my taste, so I think what I'm going to do is just throw a little EQ on here just to scoop out some of that high end. Cool. I'll pull down the volume as well. And then I'm going to create another instrument. And on this one, I'm just going to throw the retro synth on here. And this is just going to be sort of like a bottom end reinforcement. Not quite a bass, but it's just going to reinforce the bottom note of each chord. So I can get rid of all of these chord notes, and then I can just keep the bottom notes just to, again, just to reinforce. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to add all of these to a track stack. I'll just go up to track, create track stack, create a summing stack. Now these are all going to the same stack, and on the stack, I'm going to add some reverb. I'll just add the good old Space Designer. And I'll load up one of these large plates. I love the shimmering plate. And I want to hear a lot of reverb. So I'm going to pull the wet up and the dry down a bit, just to make sure I get a good sort of 50-50 balance between wet and dry. I'm going to roll out some of the high end in the filter on retro synth as well. There we go. And as a matter of fact, I might drop this down another octave. Okay, so now what I need to do is I need to print this audio in place. And you might think that you can just click on this and press Control B. You can do that, but the problem is it's not going to render any of the effects that are directly on the summing stack into the new audio file. So what I need to do is actually print this down to another audio track. So I'll just create a new audio track, and I'll just call this Reverse Chords. I'll make the input on this a bus. So I'll make this bus 7 here. Make sure it's stereo, so I have a stereo input. And then the output of the summing stack is going to be bus 7. So what I'll do is just turn off the metronome here, and then I'll just press R to record. Now, if you wanted more of the reverb tail of each of these chords to be in the reversed sample, you could choose to just space out the chords a bit more. That would work just fine too, but I think this will be fine for my purposes here. So now what I'll do is just press H to show my hiding options. I'll hide that track, mute that track, and then press H again to hide it. Now what I'll do is I'll use my scissors tool along with bar snap mode, and what I'll do is hold Option here, and that will cut everything into individual 1 bar length samples. So now what I can do is I can flip these samples around. So I just drag over all of them, go over here to the region inspector, and select reverse. And on these last 2 chords, I actually want these to be half notes. So I'm going to shorten these and then do something like that. And then what I can do is select all of these, and in the region inspector, I can add crossfades to all of these. So you just choose crossfade and then roll up the fade out amount, and it'll just crossfade those clips together. And then it does add a fade out, but you got to add like a manual fade in here. And that reverse chord sound is kind of difficult to get with just like a typical synthesizer preset. So it's something I really like to do. I think it's a really cool sound. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to unmute my bass and my chords. And I'm also going to add just a touch more reverb to the chords themselves. I could even use the same reverb again if I want. So I'll just go down to plates, shimmering plate. I want the transitions between these different regions just to be a little softer, that's all. And there is a little bit of a sort of like a space here because of this fade out and fade in. But if I just select both of these and then select type crossfade, there we go. It goes back to a crossfade. Another thing you could do if you really want to sort of take advantage of like a sort of like a tape reverse tape slowdown effect is instead of creating standard crossfades, you could create tape slowdown crossfades. So if I just hold shift and control to create crossfades on all of these, and then maybe just shorten them up a little bit, then right click or control click and select slow down, this will turn all of these into tape slowdown and speed up fades. I'd probably add a touch more reverb on this if I'm going to do it that way, just to kind of soften the effect in between each chord. But now it's got a reverse effect, but also like a tape speed effect applied to it. So there you go. That's a reverse chord effect plus the tape effect just as an added bonus. And once you're all done, you can drag over all of these and just press J to join these all together if you want this to just be one, new audio file as is. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, please leave it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel to see more content like this. As always, thanks for the support and thanks for watching.